Welcome back to Just Fantasy Baseball. Your host, Colby Olson. Clay is not here today, so I'm joined here by Matt Marasco, who is a buddy of Ben Bellotti, who was on last week. Matt plays in some pretty serious dynasty leagues, definitely a fantasy expert. So excited to talk to him today. Matt, how's it going, man?
It's going well. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well. Today we're gonna break down, as usual, like our usual Saturday, Sunday episode. Kind of run through some guys that we want to put on your radar as waiver wire additions. Some guys that we're kind of watch listing, and as always, streaming options. Right. What I want to start today, the top of this episode though, is a crazy trade offer that I got last night in the wee hours of the night. I was offered in a 14-team redraft league. I was offered Alex Verdugo, who has been off to an incredible start. One of the highest averages in baseball. He looks like a completely different hitter. He looks like the hitter that you would trade Mookie Betts for this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But I was offered Alex Verdugo in exchange for Bryce Miller, who has made one MLB start. Was that start amazing? Yes. Was that start also against the Oakland A's? Yes. So to me, man, I want to ask you your opinion on this because to me, like, I don't want to trade away Bryce Miller, right? Because he's excelled in the minor leagues. Aram Layton has his fastball graded out as an 80 grade fastball, which does not happen. You look at all the metrics on this fastball, it breaks everything metrically as a fastball in terms of rise and spin. And it's just crazy. And then he has this amazing slider to back that up, as well as an amazing changeup. So it's a complete mix. And his first
Yeah.
start against the A's, dude, 6 innings, 10 Ks. But also it's Alex Verdugo. So like, why am I not going to trade a guy after one career start against the worst team in baseball and sell high on him for Alex Verdugo? It seems like the right thing to do, but I'm still very conflicted. So I want your opinion on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember you mentioned that trade, and it's one of those trades where you just kind of have to take a step back and really think about it. Like you said, Alex Verdugo is finally the hitter that we thought he would be, right? He's back to his 2020 form and playing better than he did in 2020 right now, especially defensively. That adjustment that Alex Cora kind of challenged him to make, that change in approach, not to hunt home runs, to be a contact guy, go hit 300 and the home runs will come. That's played out. But Bryce Miller, he's got all the tools. And sometimes it's easy to get very excited by prospects, especially when they start to pan out like this. I was watching Pitching Ninja the other day, big breakdown on him. He loves Bryce Miller. If Pitching Ninja loves Bryce Miller, I love Bryce Miller. It's one of those trades where you really just kind of have to look at your own team, right? Like I think about this from sort of my perspective in keeper leagues. I would have to lean Bryce Miller just because pitching is always hard to come by. And, for a young guy on what would be a controllable keeper contract, that's almost impossible to pass up. That said, in a redraft league, if you're pushing your chips into the table right now, I I might lean Alex Verdugo. I don't know. I mean, because you just don't know if Miller's going to have some hiccups at some point. Um, it's tough because I think Verdugo, the way he's playing right now, that's here to stay. That's not going to change. Now, the other thing I will say is I'm a Red Sox fan.
Oh God, I
And
am too. We're just both Red
yeah,
Sox fans here.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So as Red Sox fans, right, we think about Verdugo and we think about the walk-offs, and it's kind of tough to separate sort of that clutch gene from his fantasy value. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have any fantasy value because he does. He's been great. That's a tough one. I mean, it would come down to roster construction. Do you have pitching? Do you need a bat?
So
Um,
that's the next thing I wanted to talk about because it
yeah,
really is team dependent, and it's a great point. Is that my team in this league? Outfield is my least concern, right? I have Julio Rodriguez, I have Mike Trout, Teoscar Hernandez, and Brandon Nimmo in the outfield. Now, if Alex Verdugo played third base, I think I would take this trade immediately. I have Gunnar Henderson over there who just has not been getting it done. Um, but I don't really need another outfielder, right? I have guys in my lineup, and then you look at my pitching, and like I definitely could use somebody at pitcher. So I don't think I'm going to take it. I think talking through this helped me out, but I think you like just talking through this, I'm going to hold on to Bryce for now. But it's crazy that somebody offered me Alex Verdugo for Bryce. Like that's a really strong offer. It's almost to the point where I have to take it, but I don't think I am.
yeah. I think it's a good call to hold on to Miller there. Yeah, pitching's hard to come by when you're able to find a guy who has all the intent, has all the stuff in the world. You trust that somebody with that good of stuff is going to be able to figure it out at the major league level and be able to help your team down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to get get into some of these waiver wire additions, guys that I'm potentially dropping as well. I want to start with Vaughn Grisham. We haven't really talked about Vaughn Grisham on this show since maybe like when we were talking about drafting. I was a fan of Vaughn Grisham, but at the value, I was not sold that he would deliver on a top 200 pick. And he hasn't thus far. And I'm reaching the point where I do own him in one league, and I think I'm leaning towards dropping him right now. So far this season, 258, 299 on base percentage, and just a 274 slug. What's really strange too about Vaughn Grisham, there's no power. He has a 60% ground ball rate thus far. Looks overmatched so far this season, not walking, just a 3% walk rate. But you would expect that Vaughn Grisham would at least put some stolen base value there, right? 5 steals in 41 games last year. He has not stolen 1 base this year in 18 games in a stolen base climate where you can practically steal automatically. A guy with Vaughn Grisham's speed should be able to steal automatically. It's the same thing that I brought up about Ezekiel Tovar last episode. Like, where are the steals from some of these guys that are historically good stealers and they're just not getting the steals this year? So I would say Vaughn Grisham is on the top of my drop list right now.
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn Grisham's one of those cases. Again, it depends on the league that you're playing in, right? I think that he's a guy that will come around, and I think that he's too good to not eventually be an everyday major league player. That said, if you're in a league right now where you're trying to win, I agree. I mean, the numbers just haven't been there. It's a large enough sample size at this point where you have to start to be concerned that it might get optioned down, that
Yes.
and you don't want to get stuck with that dead spot on your roster. So yeah, I think it might start to be time to move on from him if you're in a redraft league, or if you want to push all your chips into the middle of the table right now and try to go win a league this year, maybe see if you can flip him for somebody. But yeah, I think in terms of him producing this year, again, not saying that he can't, but I would start to consider him for a drop list, especially if you have somebody else that either a need that you need to fill or somebody else that you want to pick up.
I mean, we always talk, defense does not matter for fantasy. I think this is the rare time where defensive value absolutely matters for fantasy, because he right now has -6 DRS, -3 outs above average at shortstop this season. Orlando Arcia is close to coming back, and you would think as soon as Arcia is back that they're going to send Grisham back down to AAA, because he does look like he needs more seasoning, especially on defense. But if he's not delivering at the plate, what's the point of having him in the lineup every day if he's going to be so bad on defense? So one guy that I think you should pick up if you're playing Vaughn Grisham right now at second base, I think picking up Miguel Vargas is a no-brainer right now. He's exploded in the last 10 games. He has 8 extra base hits, 2 stolen bases, and he's slashing 286, 359 with a 657 slugging percentage over the last 10 games, hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball in the air. What we expected from Miguel Vargas to begin with. He didn't show that power early in the season, and he's still walking. So I really trust this profile from Miguel Vargas, and he's here to stay. So if you're playing Vaughn Grisham at second base, consider Miguel Vargas over Grisham right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. If Miguel Vargas is available in your league right now, go get him. Even if you have to drop somebody that's not Vaughn Grisham, just go get him on your roster. This is a guy that is going to produce at a high level. And I think, kind of the balance, like you said, of the on base with the walks being up and now the power starting to come around. It's a good balance. And yeah, that's a profile that definitely plays. You don't have to worry about the strikeouts as much either. So it's a really, really good profile, and a player that I think, like I said, if you can get him right now, 100% go get him.
Absolutely. So I have one more guy I want to talk about on my list of guys to pick up the sweep, Matt. And then we can get into some of your guys and then talk about starting pitcher streamers. The last guy I want to bring up might already be gone in your league. Matt Mervis got the call up a few days ago. He's already owned in 44% of leagues, which is crazy quick how fast he jumped up. Matt Mervis is an absolute freak show, Matt. In his last 162 baseball games since 2022, since the start of 2022, he's played 162 games. He has 42 home runs and 146 RBIs in those 162 games. So now he's in the big leagues, and I have no doubt that he is going to continue to mash in the big leagues because this is a guy that controls his strikeouts, is not afraid to take a walk, but is also very aggressive. He hunts his pitch, and he is a confident hitter in the box. So I have no doubt he's going to go to Wrigley and continue to mash. So if he is still available in your league, I would say go grab Matt Mervis and see where it takes you because he has all the tools to be a fantasy stud, like a Vinny Pasquantino fantasy stud. I would put them like they're very similar for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like you said, he's owned in a fair bit of leagues right now. If he's not owned in your league, go get him right now because that is the kind of waiver wire acquisition that can win you a fantasy league. 100%. You know, they say that you can lose a league in a draft, but you win it on the waiver wire. And I agree with that. And this is the kind of move that if you can get him, especially again, off waivers, if you have keepers or a dynasty league, now that's value for years to come. And you're right. I mean, his numbers are otherworldly, and there's no reason to think that he won't absolutely mash at Wrigley Field.
No. And I think he's the rare case where I don't think he's going to need much time at the big league level to really make an impact. Like some of these
Agreed.
guys take 50, 100, 200 plate appearances to really get rolling. Like Mervis, I think is the case where he's ready right now. I do have one guy to bring up if you miss out on Mervis. If you're in like a 10, 12 team league, you missed out on Mervis, but you're still a little thin at first base. I would recommend you don't have to run and pick him up now because then maybe somebody won't run and pick him up and beat you to it. But Tristan Casas has been terrible thus far. Not terrible in the sense that he hasn't been making contact with the ball, he's been walking a ton. He has a 16.4% walk rate on the year. But the power hasn't shown through. He's hitting just 156 so far. But things are changing for Tristan Casas as the season goes on. So over his last 15 games, he has a 53% hard hit rate, an 11.8% barrel rate, but no results to show for it over those 15 games, right? A 184 average, a 359 on base percentage, though, is really nice, but just a 265 slugging percentage. You would not expect a 265 slugging percentage from a guy that has a 53% hard hit rate and 11.8 barrel rate. He's hitting the ball in the air, hitting the ball hard. And over the last 5 games, I'm sure you've been watching the Sox, Matt.
Yeah.
He's had 2 center field warning track balls that would have been home runs in more than 20 ballparks. Like that is just when you're cold and you're just mashing
Yeah.
barrels that are getting caught at the warning track that would be home runs at 20 plus parks. I mean, that's got to be so frustrating, but it's actually a perfect buy low spot for fantasy owners, I think here. Like hitting the ball hard, hitting the ball in the air, not striking out. He's walking. Things are going to start happening for Tristan Casas here very, very soon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on Casas. Unfortunately, in a lot of my leagues, I'm playing with a bunch of other Red Sox fans, so he's been on everybody's radar for a while. But that said, if you can get him, definitely go get him. I mean, his profile, I love his plate discipline, and it started to hurt him a little bit at the beginning of the year. His strikeouts were kind of up because he was taking a lot of pitches. He's made an adjustment. Strikeouts are starting to come down now, and he profiles like a leadoff hitter, but a leadoff hitter with incredible pop. You know, he gets on base. He's a guy that, like we've said about a lot of these guys so far this episode, he's not afraid to take a walk. His plate discipline is probably his greatest asset offensively. He doesn't chase outside the zone. And like you said, he is starting to hit the ball hard now. He's made that adjustment at the major league level. I mean, he's a guy that people were thinking about for rookie of the year. And I still don't think that's necessarily out of the question. He's the kind of guy that can get hot. Some of those hard hit balls are going to start to drop. His BABIP luck is going to start to progress towards the mean now, and a lot of those balls that are going to be home runs at other parks are going to start to find their way out as it gets warmer at Fenway. Those balls are going to start to carry a little bit more. I love Tristan Casas both as a Red Sox fan and as a fantasy owner, and I think he's really can't miss. I think that he's a guy that I'm not worried about either. Slow start. I think that he's confident enough in himself where that slow start, you saw it with a guy like Jaron Duran, gets off to a slow start, gets in his head, he has to go back down, and he's playing much better this year. But with Casas, I'm not worried about that slow start. I think that he's the guy that can kind of stay within himself, trust his own process, and that it will eventually lead to some major numbers this season and for seasons to come.
Totally. I mean, we're gonna get to the end of the season. We're gonna go, oh yeah, remember when Tristan Casas wasn't hitting in April? Like that didn't
Yeah,
matter at all. He mashed the
exactly.
rest of the way, and his April brought down his overall numbers at the end of the year. But when you go to the end of the year and you go, oh, from May on, he did this. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen here. So yeah, let's get into some of your guys. I know that you want to talk about Connor Joe. Is Connor Joe back right now? He's hitting 280, 4 home runs, a 151 WRC plus. This looks like Connor Joe of 2021, where he was like a serviceable fantasy option.
I am so excited about Connor Joe. You have no idea. I actually just made a big trade in one of my leagues, on one of my keeper leagues, and had some open roster spots, and I was able to grab Connor Joe. And I have his baseball savant page up right now. It is all red. 85th percentile hard hit percentage, 66th percentile average exit velocity, 72% xwOBA, 76% barrel rate. I mean, he doesn't chase, 100% chase. He's as good as it gets in terms of staying within the strike zone. Um, just a phenomenal player. He walks a lot, 66% walk rate. And the other thing that I really like about Connor Joe is he has positional versatility, and that's something that I really look for. The way I construct my roster is basically I'm very pitcher heavy. I love pitching. So I want guys that can play multiple positions so that when, on a Thursday, right, I'm still able to fill out as much of my lineup as I can despite all of the off days. So his multiple positional ability and these underlying numbers show that he's going to have a phenomenal season. I could not be higher on Connor Joe. And as you'll see with one of my starting pitcher streamers, I like the Pirates right now. And I think that you can get good value on the Pirates because, frankly, they're the Pirates. And a lot of people don't know about them. So, guys that if they were on another team, on a major market team, might already be rostered. If you can go find these guys on these smaller market teams, there's a lot of value there.
Connor Joe is the perfect streaming option as a hitter. Like it's
Yeah.
a rare thing. But right now he's seeing the ball well. As you mentioned, the out of zone swing percentage is the lowest of his career right now. He's seeing the ball well. He's hitting the ball very hard. A 47.7% hard hit rate is by far the highest of his career, a 12.3% barrel rate to go with that. And what that's done is last year we were kind of going through a dead ball situation last year, I think. And this year, I think the ball is a bit more lively. And it makes sense because you look at home run per fly ball rate, which kind of explains, is he getting lucky with home runs? Is he getting unlucky with home runs? I think he's like getting a little lucky, but not really. Like back in 2021, he had a 14.8 home run per fly ball rate. Last year, that dropped to 6.9%, which is just crazy low. This year, 19%. So finally, we're seeing those fly balls that are hit hard, finally going for home runs. He's out of Coors Field. He's in Pittsburgh now. I agree that Pittsburgh lineup is actually pretty fantasy relevant right now. And he's also sprinkled in 2 stolen bases in 28 games. So I think, yeah, ride the wave with Connor Joe. If he slows down, you can always drop him, but ride the wave while he's hot, while he's seeing the ball well. I think it's very interesting right now for him. So you have a couple more guys to talk about here. Let's talk about Shea Langeliers, catcher,
Yeah. So
Oakland A's, former top prospect, a lot of juice. What's the reason to pick him up as a potential catcher streamer right now?
So I like him for a few reasons. One, I mean, he's producing right now. So depending on how your scoring works, he's already at about 100 points. So that's significant, right? Sprint speed, 85th percentile from the catcher position is phenomenal. 64% barrel percentage, that's the pop right there. And again, he's a guy that you can pick up. A lot of times, the catcher position can be kind of shallow, and he's a guy that there's a lot of value there. You can get him for $1. It depending on how your waiver wires work, but usually, a waiver claims $1 and 56% slugging percentage. But I just love the barrel percentage and the sprint speed. I mean, that combination of pop and speed, I think is huge. And it has fantasy value because, he can beat out that infield single. He can steal a base for you, but at the same time, he can leave the yard. And in Oakland, he's going to get plenty of run. You're not worried about him, having somebody else kind of on his tail, chasing him out of the big league. There's not a lot of pressure on him to save his job right now, just because the A's are, the A's are the A's, right? There's just not a lot of guys out there. So he's going to get everyday at bats. And I think that a lot of his numbers are going to improve as the season goes on, just because of some of these underlying metrics. Max exit velo in the 81st percentile shows, again, he can hit the ball hard. And guys that can run fast and hit the ball hard, is simplistic as that sounds, guys that can do that have a lot of fantasy value. 6 home runs already on the year. Yeah, the average is down. I think that average is going to come up. But for a guy, 6 home runs, 716 OPS. But again, these are guys that are, waiver wire claims. There's some value there.
You want to hear something crazy? This is
Yeah.
Shea Langeliers has a negative 37 WRC plus against lefties this year. This is a masher righty catcher, and he's not hitting lefties at all right now. He has a 147 WRC plus against righties this year, and he can't hit a lefty. What is up
Yeah.
with that?
It's one of those things that, yeah, it's weird. It's weird when you look at that. And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to
I have
mention
no
that.
answer for you. I'm sure you don't either. That is the
No.
most bizarre thing ever because if he could hit a lefty, he would be having a ridiculous year this year. He already is
That's,
having a great year. He's basically a Mike Zunino light. Like that's what I would say.
yeah.
A ton of pop, not gonna bring you much in the average department. But dude, learn how to hit a lefty. And then I would really be interested.
And here's the thing. And that ties back into he plays for the Oakland A's, right? He's gonna get a chance to hit lefties and
Yeah.
he's gonna figure that out. So this is a guy again,
Gotta.
grab him right now. He's gonna get consistent at bats. I'm not worried about him learning how to hit lefties. I think he will. Um, again, relatively good chase rate, right around just under 50%. So it's not like he's swinging too much out of the zone. And like you said, a ton of pop. But to go with that pop, I'm looking right now at his spray chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 infield singles. And again, I think there's value there, right? As a catcher to have 7 infield singles already, that average is going to start to come up. So I think that he's going to learn how to hit lefties. That average is going to come up, and we know he can mash. I think that there's a ton of value there. And again, if he cools down, if that average, dips below 200, drop him. And it was an experiment. You tried it, didn't work out. But he's a guy that I'm very, very high on right now, based on his performance so far this year, the pop and that speed. I think the average is going to come up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued. I just want to check back in a month and see if he's hitting lefties, like, because that is
Yeah,
ridiculous. If he could hit lefties at
yeah,
a league average rate, he would have like a 125 WRC plus right now. Insane.
yeah,
Anyways, let's move on to your next guy. Not,
yeah.
I want to tee you up nicely here, but I'm a little surprised that you're bringing this guy up. So Lane Thomas, he did have 17 home runs last year, 8 stolen bases. This year, 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases, is hitting 270, but the underlying numbers aren't all that exciting. So I'm just curious, what's the Lane Thomas pitch for a deep league owner that's trying to stream somebody right now in the outfield?
So that's exactly right. This is for the deep league owner trying to stream somebody in the outfield. This is not, you're in a 10 to a 12 team league. You could probably find a better option than Lane Thomas. Here's why I like Lane Thomas. Phenomenal spray chart, sprays the ball all over the field. Just like with Langeliers, a ton of infield singles and, phenomenal speed. Very, very fast. He's going to steal you bases. And I think that average is going to come up. He's got some pop as well with a couple home runs. Again, coming from a deep league, having a guy like this, he's at about 100 points again, depending on your scoring. So I like the production that he's already had. Sprays the ball all over the field. All of his both of his home runs are they're pretty much straightaway center field, which again I like guys, especially without the shift, that have power up the middle. I think that that's going to be huge this year. And again, a lot of his doubles and singles, his spray chart sprays the ball all over, but you can definitely see a focus sort of on the middle of the field, which I like a lot. Is you're gonna have less guys just standing right behind second base. And I like the sprint speed. We talked about the stolen base climate earlier too. That sprint speed is gonna get you points on a night in, night out basis. If he gets on base, he's probably gonna be running. And with the Nationals, consistent at bats. Consistent at bats, consistent at bats. That is the number one thing that I look for. Again, as somebody who constructs my roster around pitching and I let the offense kind of fill in, I don't want to have guys that are going to platoon that aren't going to be
Mm.
getting a ton of at bats. So that's why with the Washington Nationals, they want to see what they have with this guy. He's going to get a ton of run. And he's driven in some runs too. 14 RBIs. Just looking at his stat line right now, 270, 2 home runs, 14 RBI, 3 steals. That's a guy that, I think is worth taking a flyer on right now. Again, as a streamer, I'm not saying you have to keep this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that he's a cornerstone of the future, but I have pretty high expectations of this guy. And part of it too, I was listening to Trevor Plouffe was talking about Thomas before the season started, and is a guy that he thinks could have a bit of a breakout year. And I think that he's on his way to that. I think he's going to cut down on the chase a little bit, but I like a lot of some of the intangibles, I guess. I guess not even intangibles, just the raw talent, you know.
Yeah.
Just the eye test too. I hate to say the eye test on a fantasy
Oh
podcast
no,
that's driven by
don't say that.
numbers.
That word's banned on here, bud.
Yeah, exactly. I hate to say it, but he looks good when you watch him play. So he's a guy
Uh,
again. If you need to pick up an outfielder, you have somebody hurt right now in a deeper league. He's already put up 100 points. Go take a flyer on him and see what you can do there. Again, not somebody you have to keep, but somebody that it's worth taking a flyer on.
before we talk about starting pitcher streamers, I do want to bring up another outfielder that is basically Joey Gallo light. Luke Raley on the Tampa Bay
Yeah,
Rays has been getting consistent at bats against righties. He's a lefty that does not hit lefties. But that gives you plenty of value still in 23 games. 23 games, he has 7 home runs, a 362 ISO, a hard hit rate, 54.8% hard hit rate, and a 26.2% barrel rate. Like ridiculous numbers against righties, a 114 max exit velocity. This guy is a power machine and has kind of come out of nowhere because he's for the first time getting consistent at bats as a 28-year-old. So very much post hype here, but really could be some value for deeper leagues. He's owned in just like 3% of leagues. So gotta to watch. Let's quickly go over starting pitcher streamers for next week. Just a couple guys that you're targeting for next week. I have a couple guys, and then we're out of here. So give
yeah,
me your quick pitch on your first guy.
yeah. Quick pitch, Bailey Ober, and Bailey Ober. I love Bailey Ober. I think he's owning about 13% of leagues right now. I picked him up last week, and he just came right out and rolled out a 30-point start for me. Looking at his baseball savant page, it's a sea of red. Chase rate 83%, hard hit rate 93rd percent, exit velocity 72nd percent, barrel percentage 78%, fastball spin 66%. He's a menace. I don't know what they have going on with the pitching staff out in Minnesota, but it's working right now. As somebody who took the Twins to win that division preseason, I love Bailey Ober coming up, and he's a guy that you can get. He's above league average on all of his pitches right now. I'm looking at his baseball savant. Above league average fastball, slider, changeup, and curve. I like the 4-pitch mix. He's just a guy that I'm super, super high on right now. And is he going to regress to the mean? Absolutely. But grab him now. He's somebody that you can sell high. You know, if you want to pick him up now, you can either keep him, sell high, or
Yeah,
in
I
a deeper
mean,
league, there's a ton of value for next year too.
I think Ober is a perfect guy to pick up. Right now, 36% owned in Yahoo leagues, and for his career has always been a low whip guy. He does not walk a lot of batters. Yeah, is he getting a little lucky right now? Sure, but enjoy it. Enjoy it. Like
Yeah.
sometimes those things last more than a month. So he strikes out plenty of guys, does not walk guys. He can definitely sustain at least something like this. He's not going to sustain a 0.98 ERA, that's for sure. But agreed, this is a good one. I want to bring up Louis Varland, who got
Yeah.
the White Sox last time out, struggled a little bit. I watched most of this game. Was just a little cute, I think, in this game. He only walked 2 guys, but was getting behind in counts a lot of the time. Gave up 7 hits, walked 2, a home run in the first inning, still struck out 6. And in his first start against the Yankees, went 6 innings, 3 earned, did give up 3 home runs, but struck out 8. So now he gets the Padres next time out. And I actually trust him against this Padres offense that has been pretty cold. And it seems like Louis Varland is right on the cusp of having a really, really good start. So he's owned in just 6% of leagues. I think he's a fine streamer option in a week that doesn't have many good streaming options. I think he's a really solid one at that. And I'll just give you my last one real quick. Brian Hoeing on the Marlins is getting the Reds on Friday, and I will be targeting that with the Reds on the road. Hoeing is pitching today against the Cubs, so I'm very interested to see how he pitches today. He pitched well in the minors this season in 3 starts in the minors, struck out more than 10 per 9, walked just 1 per 9, had a 2.08 ERA, struggled a little bit. In his first start, but in the last start against the Cubs, he went 5 innings, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts, just walked 1 batter. Does not walk anybody, which is the big pitch here. Gets the Reds on the road. That's all that I need, but I'm very excited to see him go against the Cubs again today.
Yeah, and the Marlins just churn out pitchers. I mean, you can't go wrong with a young Marlins pitcher. I like that pick a lot, actually. It'll be interesting to see how he throws against the Cubs, who have a sneaky good offense. So if he can handle business there, I definitely think that there's a ton of value there against a Reds lineup that is not nearly as powerful as Chicago's.
Absolutely. And you got one
Um,
more streamer?
yeah, I got one more. Rowanzi Contreras. He's a guy I had him last year. I wasn't able to keep him just because of the nature of how many keepers I was able to have in my league. Above average fastball, a phenomenal curveball. He needs to start to throw it more because it's well above league average. And fastball spin 76%, extension 73%, curveball spin 72%, hard hit rate 61%, barrel rate 66%. He's a guy that is very good, ton of upside. And again, on this Pirates team, you know, probably not on a roster right now. I just checked on ESPN. He's owning about 15% of leagues, and he's only 23. So if you're in a keeper league, get him now, a ton of value for years to come.
My only struggle with Roenzi Contreras is I was so excited about him when he was traded to the Pirates, right? It last year in AAA was striking out 12 per nine. Yeah, he was walking a lot of batters, but the strikeouts were there, the whiffs were there. And now at the big league level, he struggled to get whiffs outside the zone. Like his out of zone swing percentage has fallen every single year. And that is the most concerning thing to me. Like if you're a guy that's walking a lot of guys and you have this nasty slider, but you're not getting swings out of the zone, that's very concerning. So I might differ from you on this one. I think I gotta wait and see a little bit on Roanzi because I just haven't seen him get those whiffs. And for a guy like him, like he's gonna need that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the whiffs will come though. Again, his stuff is just so electric, and he's 23 years old. He's a guy that I trust to figure it out. And again, I know that that's kind of been a theme for me this episode. Is just guys that I trust to figure it out, that they have the raw talent to figure it out. 23 years old. Again, I'm a pitching first guy. A lot of my leagues, there's not a ton of pitching available. He's actually not available in my league right now, unfortunately, or either of my leagues, unfortunately. But he's a guy that I think with that spin rate on the fastball and the curveball, good extension, good velo, and that curveball well above average. I think if he starts to increase that usage a little bit, I think you'll start to see the swing and miss come back. He's got to work on the walks, but again, you trust guys like this that are so young, so talented, and on a team where again they've played well, but he's not in danger of losing his spot in the rotation.
Yeah. Yeah.
To figure it out, and he's going to go out there and he's a solid sort of back end starter, a guy that if you have a favorable matchup, you can go grab him and see what he can do for you.
If I instead of picking up him, who I would be targeting right now, and I feel like I always bring up Red Sox players because I watch a lot of Red Sox, but like they have this team that's full of upside people.
Yeah,
James Paxton is making his return right now, and he should debut, I would think, this next week, right? He's made a
yeah.
few rehab starts, and in his last rehab start, went 5 innings, struck out 8 guys. The stuff is there. Like that's a guy that I would be willing to take a flyer on that, has put up some really good seasons in the past. And if he's right, he hasn't pitched since 2019. So he's got a fresh arm. I'm taking a flyer on James Paxton right now. Like that's a guy that I would be willing to in deeper leagues. And like if you're in a 12-team league and you need some pitching, I don't see any reason why not taking a flyer on James Paxton.
Yeah, if Paxton's available, go get him. And again, not necessarily somebody you want to construct your roster around because who knows how long he'll be able to stay healthy. But again, a guy who's got electric stuff. And yeah, on a Red Sox team where a lot's going right now, and a team that's going to give him a ton of run support, and a bullpen that's looked good with another guy that I think might be worth picking up in Josh Winkowski. Just because he's going to go in there and eat innings, maybe get a
Join
save.
the one save club. He got a save.
Yeah. He's a part of the one save club now. You know, yeah, Red Sox pitchers are very interesting right now because it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. I like Paxton a lot though. I think that's a really good potential waiver claim.
Absolutely. So that'll do it. Just fantasy baseball. Matt, I can't thank you enough for joining the show with me today, giving some fun insight. Definitely gonna have you back on here soon. So yeah, we'll catch you all next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Talk to you next time. Adios.